Hello, it is time for Faces, and I hope you all are doing well. I hope you guys are liking the course, or at least learning something. If you learn one thing, I hope you learn one thing. But anyway, welcome to Faces. So here is basically how I view the face. You're just drawing a diamond shape, like all the time, and it works in every direction, frontal, side, and well, not back, but both sides. And your cheekbone will always connect to your ear, and the top of the diamond will poke out just a little bit, only because that is your brow bridge to your skull. Now let's apply that to our models here. So Can3 Kicks, I know she's cosplaying somebody from One Piece. And then we have Can3 Kicks, Can3 Kiss. I'm sorry for butchering your name. Amaris, Jovi, and then Irresistible are, of course, the big three. So for this one, I just like to draw a circle and a line going through it, just two lines. I really like to make it more of like a curved face rather than a block. You can view it as a square because, I mean, if that will make it easier for you, but in most cases, you don't want to make the head too blocky. You want it to still have that curvature of the forehead and of the cheekbone. You don't really have, like, it is good to know the skeletal structure of the skull. However, I don't think it is 100% needed currently. Like, you can make you can survive without it. But if you really want to do mastery, if you really want to truly learn the skeletal structure of the skull, then that is a very specific study with repetition of the skeletal structure. You can make a break with knowing the brow bridge. Your eyebrow is the top of your skull when it comes to your eye socket. And your cheekbone is technically the bottom of your eyebrow, of your eye socket. Yeah, the very tip of the start of your cheekbone is where your eye socket ends. And you can easily connect your cheekbone to the middle of your ear. Your ear will always be between your eyebrow and your nose. That is the shape of where your ear will land on the face. And your mouth will always be smaller than the length of your eyes. So where your pupils are on your eyes, where your pupils are on your eyes, your smile won't exceed that. If it does, it comes off as very creepy and very disturbing. So if you want that kind of character, yeah, you would draw that expression with your smile larger than your eyes. But if you want your character to look properly proportioned, then you will keep your smile or your mouth structure smaller than the width of your eyes. Your neckline will connect to the back of the skull. It won't connect to the back of your ear. It will connect to the back of your skull. Your back of your skull is immediately after your ear. Your collarbone connects from your ear down to the M of the chest. And that's how that connects. So you have the muscle tissue right there. And those are like basically the simplest shapes of the body. I'll post several pictures of examples of this within the course page where you can look at those, and then you can also do your own studies of those if you truly want to understand how the skeleton really looks. This is just more of like a simplified version of the skeleton where you can easily understand where the shapes go, where the shadows and the highlights go of the face. Now on to drawing the big three. I chose this picture because they're in several different facial positions with different expressions, and I wanted to show how each angle of the face would look. So as you can see, I always draw diamondish, circle-ish shapes, and I just draw several strokes to make it as quick as possible without filling up the page that much. And the cross line is merely the middle of the face where the nose will go, and the horizontal line will be where the eyes will normally go. And I tend to have a problem where I tend to draw noses too close to the eyes. I always forget to add a bridge. So I would say make sure that you add a bridge to your noses. That's just a habit of mine, but technically just the cross works as well. I can't really say how one would draw the face in specific measurements, because that is not something that I actually grew up with drawing. I've seen it, but I was not taught to use specific detailed measurements, like your eye is like a couple of inches away from your nose. That's not true, but like your smile is a certain height, your eyes and ears are a certain height. I didn't grow up with that, so I can't really teach that to somebody. I can only show how I was taught through the shapes of where certain parts of the head land. So like I said, the collarbone will always hit the middle of the ear. So that's how you know that the ear is always at the eyebrow. The tip of the eyebrow is the top of the ear, and the end of the ear is where your nose begins. So you can draw your characters like that. And then you can draw the tip of the mouth directly underneath the nose and leave a little bit of space for the chin. But that goes back to the diamond shape. If you have the diamond shape, that accentuates the exact shapes that I was talking about, with the ear, the eyes, and the chin being the tip of the diamond. Because of the angle of the face and the expression, I was having a difficult time with drawing Unresistable's face. And eventually down the line, I do go back to it, but I complete the other girls' faces first. For me, I try not to make the faces too realistic anymore. I want it to look as close to them as possible without getting bored. I get and I think it's because I've done it so much now, but I get very bored of realism, and I have a lot of fun with making, and I get stressed. I'm sorry. I also get very stressed with realism now as well, because I get into that moment of, oh, it doesn't look like them, or how do I make it look like them? And then I spend hours trying to make it look like them, and then I still don't think it looks like them. Even after showing a friend or a family member, it still doesn't look like somebody in my eyes, and then they'll be like, oh, it looks just like them. I have a disconnect with that. So I personally don't like doing hyper realism like how I used to. It's too disheartening to do it. So I try my best to make it as animated as possible, but still look like the person on my free time. Commission work is different, but on my free time, that's what I like to do. So my goal here is to not necessarily make it look like Empress Jovi, but to basically look like a sister. I don't know. Basically look similar to her, but it's fine to not be identical to her. And I think that's what was happening with Unresistable, is that I was trying so hard to make it look like her, and I was having difficulty, because now looking back on the picture, to me it looks like her. But for some reason in that moment it did not look like her, and I was having a very difficult time with drawing her face. So sometimes you have to just let loose. Sometimes you can't stay stuck on a picture. You have to just keep moving forward, and as long as you master the shape of the face, it's fine. So with Can3 Kids, what I did was I erased some of the picture because I knew that most of her face was going to be blocked out. So I decided to change where I initially was going to put her eye line to her nose line and just draw her from there, because she turned out to be the easiest one because only half of her face was there. And now I'm just doing simple shading to basically show value of their mini portraits and just give a little bit more expression and life to the little pictures. And I'm going to show you guys the full ride of how I struggle to draw Unresistible's face and how sometimes I have to go through multiple times of redoing a face, redrawing a face, and sometimes at the worst, repainting a face, which is the most difficult one. But it's something that can bring good practice on. But it's difficult sometimes with being frustrated of not having the face drawn properly. But at the same time, it's a learning experience. I just say, if you have to redraw the face stop drawing the face after the third time. If you mess up at the third time, then just move on. And if I remember correctly, I think this was my third time, and I kept telling myself that. I may have gone as far as a fourth time, but I truly recommend, and do as I say, not as I do. I truly recommend that you stop trying to redraw something after the third time. Give yourself a break and move on to the next thing, because otherwise you're just going to stay stuck and you're going to stay stressed. And that's the last thing that you should be feeling on your art journey. third time's the charm, and I like how this one turned out. I feel like it looks like her. However, the other face also looked like her, so it just goes back to taking time, and also how if you draw something it doesn't look like it, especially in the moment of when you do draw the person. It's a learning experience. It's something that you have to accept. But that's technically how I draw faces. I do my best to sync up the face using the diamond technique, or the, as cynics would say, the folded paper. That one works as well, where you just round off the piece of paper and you draw a cross in between to insinuate the eyes and the center of the face. That works too. As long as you have your face in a rounded structure, that is completely fine. I say just constantly practice drawing faces. If you're having difficulty with faces, repetition helps. Repetition with figuring out how the shapes of the body, or the shapes of the face specifically, work with each other. How the highlight looks in certain spots, how shadows look on the face. Learning where these parts of the face have light and shadow definitely help, especially when you're starting to do coloring. So here's a cosplay study of Amaris Jovi and Cosmea as Deku and Bakugo. And I wanted to insert this one here to showcase a drawing from beginning to end, mainly involving the face and how it fits with the figure. And because the last one was just the drawing of faces, I want you guys to see how it works all together. And I'm sure you guys know this isn't you guys' first rodeo with, drawing and whatnot. Unless you're a novice, welcome. But I wanted to show you guys a more beginning to not quite ending, because I'm not showing how I finished painting the bodies, but definitely with finishing painting the faces and how lighting and shadow affects those, how it affects their features and the face shape. I'm always struggling with someone's face. So with Amaris Jovi in this one, I was having an issue with drawing her. And then I also couldn't decide on how to, because Bakugo is Bakugo, but I also didn't want to draw an angry black woman. So I found a middle ground of drawing her in more of like a cocky state. And like a cocky state of mind. So I changed up the expression just a little bit, and you can do that simply by just raising the lip or the smile line and adding an indentation in the cheek where the cheekbone would be underneath, and then add like a small shadow. And you can simply add like a bottom line underneath the lower, like where the lower eyelid would be, add like a bottom line there and a straight line above on where the eye socket is, and you have basically a smile, a changed smile with a similar face. So after color blocking, I went back in and merged everything together. And the main goal that I had at the end of this painting was to give them, basically just to give like red like highlights and explosions, because I wanted it to be a reflection of Bakugo's bombs, and I wanted that to be highlighted on their faces, or at least on their gear. And that was literally it. That was literally the main goal, besides making it look good and making it look kind of like them. I still just wanted it to kind of look like them. I do add highlight to the nose and the cheek. Basically, I'm adding highlights to where I know light would hit the form. Light typically hits the form at the cheekbone and on one side of the nostril. So like if you're an anime head, think of where on the anime noses they have a dark spot for the shadow. In some cases, that's not shadow. In some cases, that's just a strong highlight, and you can just put a strong highlight there instead of a shadow mark. While painting this, I did still want green kind of infused in the shadow because she's Cosmea is playing Deku, who's basically just a piece of broccoli. And I wanted her to have green in the skin just a little bit in the shadows. I'm not quite sure it worked out, especially because I knew that it was going to have an orange highlight, but I decided to give her a kind of pink tinge to her skin. And then I went back over with the green. Yeah, because I was like, I did change it at some point to where it is a kind of a green highlight because it's Deku that she's playing. So after I just did a simple hair, something you'll see in the next lineup of videos about how I do layering of hair, but just something quick and easy. Now for the main reason of all this, the highlights of yellow, which I actually didn't like all that much. So as you can see, I took away Amaris Jovi's strong yellow highlight and just put it as a soft light on her side of her chin, and I put soft light on Cosmea. Now I will say an easy way for you to put highlights is find out where the shadows are, because if it's a area that is normally in shadow and then you put light around it, that part will light up, and then the part that would normally have light would actually be the shadow part. So that's a simple way of how I view where shadows and highlights go when I change lighting from picture to picture. What I want you guys to do is think about your goal for this part of the class. Do you want to learn how to do certain face shapes? Do you want to learn the coloring of the face or hair in particular? Or were you just interested in seeing how I do faces? Just practice, in general, just practice drawing faces, and eventually expressions and coloring will get to you because of the shading, the highlighting, and you'll just develop a mental catalog of it.